All right, it's like Thursday, and I'm about a quarter of the way done with Road to Character by David Brooks. And so far, so good. So, one of the reasons I wanted to read this book, I really like David Brooks, and I think he's a New York Times writer and columnist, and I think I've read a lot of his articles and listened to a lot of his podcasts and interviews, and I think he's a brilliant guy. And one of the problems I have always had in life and am constantly dealing with as a now 36-year-old dad is I feel like I don't have a lot of character. I don't have the best work ethic. I just don't go above and beyond in my personal life to have good character, and I think that has stifled a lot of my life. I look for the easy way out. I'm always looking for comfort and laziness. That is my natural tendency. And so I've heard a lot about this book, and so I wanted to read it. But as I'm reading it, I feel a lot of tension of oh, he's not right. He's only saying this because he's a boomer. But I'm trying to shut myself and my mind down to learn from it and really get from it what he's trying to say. But I'm having that internal wrestling, so we'll see what it is. But again, about 20 to 25% done. Really liking it, though. A lot of really cool, interesting points on the people that he's talking about and the character that they've built. Making coffee and getting back to reading. And I have to read you this sentence because it stuck out so much to me. And it's a part of the reason why I wanted to start this channel and why I want to read so much. It's hard now to recapture how seriously people took novel reading then, or at least how seriously Day and others took it. Reading important works as wisdom literature, believing that supreme artists possess insight that could be handed down as revelation, trying to mold one's life around the heroic and deep souls one found in books. Day read as if her life depended upon it. Dang, that's such a good line. It's two sentences, and it's so true, and that's part of the reason why I want to read books. I want my life to depend on it. And this book so far is so good. It's a little deeper and a little slower of a read than I wanted it to be, but we're going to push through it. About 40% of the way done. Let's keep going. All right, so our son is in jiu-jitsu, and I'm going to take 10, 15, 20 minutes to finish reading Road to Character. I got about, I'm 60 to 70% of the way done. Let's see what Kindle says. 72% done, so almost done. Honestly, getting kind of bored with it. It's a really good book, but I'm just kind of ready to move on to the next thing. But I really want to finish it. Can't have character if I don't finish the book on character, right? So let's get into it and then get my son back. If you're gonna be a reader, especially with kids, you gotta get it in somehow. You gotta figure it out, even a couple minutes, whatever. So yeah, let's get a couple minutes in. Done with David Brooks on the road. First book done on this YouTube channel. Cheers. I give this book a 4.0 out of 5. I think it's a great book. I think everybody needs to read this book. Maybe this is a book you give to a friend that's about to get married, somebody that is making a big life decision later in their 20s. Obviously, as society has gone, so the world goes, so the country goes. And I think David Brooks does a very good job of explaining why we have kind of lost character, or not even lost it. We just have redefined it. And it really affects who we are as people, as a society, how we live as families. I'm a dad of 3. I've been married for 10 years, and I wish I would have read this book sooner, honestly. It's a great read. It's very deep. There's a lot of great stories in it. So basically what the book does is it opens up and it shows you how we have changed the word character, and then each chapter dives into someone's life and it shows you how they build character. And one of the great things about it is that it doesn't shy away from the heaviness or the darkness of these people's lives. and yet they still had character. They built character. They were on the road to character. And David Brooks introduces this to challenge us to build character. That in our modern times, we define character as like success, as like popular, as famous. And that really what character is how you treat others, how you sacrifice your goods, your privilege for others, right? As a dad, how I care for my kids, how I care for my wife, that is character. It isn't being famous. It isn't being popular. It isn't being rich. It's about caring for others. It's about caring for neighbor. It's about being humble. It's about having pride in the right things. And as a 36-year-old, this was a book I wish I would have read sooner. Now, the reason it doesn't get a perfect score is because for me personally, it was a little boring. It dragged on. It took a little too long to get to where it needed to be. David Brooks is a great writer. I love reading his articles in The Atlantic and the New York Times and in different things. But the book just kind of took, to me, a little too long to get to where it needed to get. But I think everybody needs to read this book. I think this is a book that will really challenge and really show you where you need to shift in your life, maybe in your priorities. One of the things that I want to do as a dad and in my life is I want to slow down. I want to read more books, and this book is a great starter to do that. So I think everybody should read this book. I think this is a great book to give to a friend before they get married, maybe somebody that goes off to college. A great book for someone that is about to do sort of step out into life. And again, I wish I would have read this book sooner. But with that said, the rest of this channel, I want to do a lot more fiction. The next book I got is a short story by Stephen King, not on Stephen King. And I'm very excited to dive into it. I've never read Stephen King, so that's very exciting to me. But this has been first book on the road with David Brooks. That is not character. On the road to character with David Brooks. And let's get into some more reading. If you care about that, movies, music, or books, mostly books, then this channel, On With the Mind, is about that. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend. Maybe me, you, and your friends can read a book together. If you live near Texas, I would love to hang out with you and go to a bookstore. I live in Galveston. Later, this has been Armed with a Mind, book number 1, The Road to Character by David Brooks.